Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the North Fair Oaks Community meeting. If we can get started, Victor, with taking roll.
Of course. Chair Everardo Rodriguez.
Here.
Vice Chair Beatriz Cerrillo.
Here.
Councilmember Melinda Dubrov. Councilmember Rosario Gonzalez.
Here.
Councilmember Linda Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Rosaura Lopez.
Here.
Councilmember Mary Martinez.
Present.
Youth Member Emily Cordova.
Here.
And Youth Member Diane Zarmeño.
Here.
Chair.
Thank you. We'll go on to public comment. If anybody has comments, please fill out a comments slip, which you can get on the table. Anyone may speak up to 2 minutes on any topic not on the agenda tonight. And the council may not discuss or take action on items not on the agenda tonight. And I suppose if we don't have any public comment, then we'll begin with the first presentation. There's the California High-Speed Rail Authority.
Good evening. Yes, my name is Will Gimple, and I'm the project manager for San Francisco to San Jose. I want to thank you for inviting us back. We were here last summer and gave you an overview of the project, and you've invited us back to give you an update of what's going on. So I'm going to do a summary of the project, and then we'll be happy to discuss questions and answers.
Thank you.
Okay. The project is an ambitious one. You can see in the dark blue is Phase 1 to connect San Francisco with Los Angeles and Anaheim. Phase 2 are the two gold lines that will extend north to Sacramento and south to San Diego. In the 2016 business plan, the authority announced that it was going to build from the center out. Construction has begun in the Central Valley. The plan now is to connect the Central Valley with the Silicon Valley. We would have service between San Jose and just north of Bakersfield. This will cost $20.7 billion. It's fully funded, so this is what's under construction. If the authority can identify an additional $2.9 billion, it will extend that initial service north to San Francisco, and that would affect us. But without that funding, it will be 2029 when we get to the peninsula and serve San Francisco. So either 2025 if fundings are identified, or 2029. And as you can imagine, a large project like this, which is underway, there are hundreds of people working in the Central Valley. There's a lot of economic impact to a project like this. As I said, construction has begun. 119 miles are under construction in the Central Valley. This will be the spine of the project, and we'll build from there. And I think we have a short video to tell you about the construction.
There are currently 11 active work sites in Construction Package 1. However, 3 of these sites are a little more visible than the rest because they sit alongside or are part of State Route 99. With sparks flying and steel being installed, the Cedar Viaduct is easily the most visible, rising high into the sky just east of the highway in South Fresno. The viaduct is in just about every stage of construction, with new columns being poured. False work being built on one section to support construction of a bridge deck. In another section, preparations are underway to prepare for pouring a bridge deck. And where the bridge deck is already complete, the construction of barrier walls is underway. Drivers can't help but notice the 99 realignment as they travel through central Fresno. Lanes have been shifted, and at times closed as crews make quick work to demolish and now rebuild the 2 Clinton Avenue bridges.
We started both structures in April, and we've committed to a 6-month closure so that we can construct both bridges and reopen in October.
You can see the first portion of the Clinton Avenue Bridge, called Span 1, is already standing, with 2 lanes of traffic going both directions passing underneath. A little farther to the east, the abutments for the second bridge are under construction. This area is called the Fresno Yard Overhead.
This span of this structure will ultimately have the future high-speed rail tracks going under it.
Dozens of columns line the freight tracks, and more are being constructed on both sides of the San Joaquin River in North Fresno. This is the San Joaquin River pergola and viaduct. False work has been constructed around the columns for the pergola. This project is huge and long. Combined, the pergola and viaduct will span nearly a mile, allowing high-speed trains to cross over the San Joaquin River and the Union Pacific tracks. California High-Speed Rail, it's happening.
Okay, that's the overview of what's going on in the Central Valley. We'll talk a little bit more about what's going on here on the peninsula. I have a schedule here laid out in an arrow. You can see we're in the second lozenge, the one with the gold outline. We're still doing design, technical analysis. We're still designing the footprints of the proposed stations and outreach, such as coming to this evening to speak with you. I don't have dates on these blocks because we're currently in discussion with the Federal Railroad Administration to finalize dates for our schedule. We had scheduled dates, but because the project is working with the FRA, the EPA, and the Corps of Engineers, the whole high-speed rail project has so many documents that need to be pushed through these federal agencies that they've asked to step back and reevaluate the schedule. So currently I don't have any dates on those boxes, but I do hope that within a month or two we'll be able to identify that and we'll be able to tell you exactly when we're going to go to each step of the process. Okay, we're going to look a little bit at the peninsula. Initially, the authority back in 2008 when it started this project considered several ways of getting from the Central Valley into the Bay Area. Originally, we considered coming over the Altamont Pass here in the East Bay and possibly going up to Oakland or down and around the Bay. That was eliminated because of issues concerning wetlands and crossing the Bay, and also because some trains might bypass San Jose. San Jose wants to have that service pass through them. So for a number of reasons, the blue line was taken off the map. We considered building along Highway 280, the red line, or along 101, the green line. But as you know, 280 is very curvy and hilly, and not many people live or work along 280, so we wouldn't really be serving anyone. 101 is a lot closer to where the jobs and the housing are, but it's built to its maximum right up against development. There is no leeway. And the idea of trying to build a railroad over an active 6 to 8 lane highway is challenging, to say the least. So we eliminated the two highway alternatives. We had considered a 4-track system along the alignment, 2 tracks for Caltrain, 2 tracks for high-speed rail. That was a fairly expensive project, and it had a lot of impacts to the communities on the peninsula. And so even through legislation, it was decided to take this off the table and move instead with a blended service. So we're on the Gold Line, a blended service with Caltrain, exact same tracks that Caltrain's using. There are 2 elements of the project that are still on the table but not currently active. One is the idea of building a new tunnel from Brisbane through the hills of San Francisco to get to the train stations. Currently, Caltrain has 2-track tunnels that do this. In the long run, we may want to build additional tunnels for that added capacity, but it's a very expensive element, so it's not part of the project right now. Also, there was consideration of having a mid-peninsula station, and we have talked with potential host cities such as Redwood City or Palo Alto or Mountain View. And at the current time, none of those cities are ready to host a station, but we will continue to discuss it with them. And also, currently, the statewide market analysis does not show a great demand for a mid-peninsula station yet. That certainly could change in the future, but it's not part of the project today, but it certainly can be brought back at a later time. So here's what we're left with, the blue line, 51 miles from downtown San Francisco to downtown San Jose. This is the smallest footprint of all those lines that I started with on the map, has the fewest impacts and the lowest cost. And we are now evaluating 2 alternatives along that one single line. And I'll tell you some of the elements of those alternatives. And we are considering high-speed rail stations at San Francisco. We'll start at 4th and King, and when the DTX is built to the Transbay Transit Center, we'll go there. We will only be 4th and King temporarily. We'll have a high-speed station at Millbrae serving the airport, and there'll be a high-speed station down at San Jose, Diridon. And I'm going to show you the different elements of the alternatives. They can be mixed and matched, what the ultimate decision may be. But alternative A, we would have a light maintenance facility on the east side of the mainline tracks. That's a place where trains will be stored at night, light cleaning, restocking, getting them ready to start the next day. A light maintenance facility is best located close to your terminal because you want to be able to get your trains to that terminal to start service in the morning. The further away you are from that terminal, the longer you have to run empty trains up to get to your starting point. There's a reason the Southern Pacific built its rail yards where they are now, because it's very close to downtown San Francisco and enables you to be able to store and maintain that equipment close to where it begins service in downtown. Under Alternative A, we're not considering any additional passing tracks. We'll use the existing bypass tracks that Caltrain uses. Also under Alternative A, we will consider a shorter viaduct if we have an elevated station at Diridon. Now in contrast, Alternative B, the light maintenance facility would be on the west side of the mainline tracks. We would consider a 6-mile passing track option under this alternative, and also a longer viaduct going into an elevated station. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. Common to both alternatives, we're going to have to make modifications at 4th and King and at Millbrae in order to have high-speed trains serve those stations. High-speed train doors are 51 inches above the rail. Caltrain is planning to use doors that are at 23. They may consider 50-inch, but if we don't share platforms, they can use a different platform height than we do. But we still need to raise platforms up to 51 inches at 4th and King. And also, we'll probably build an independent set of tracks and a platform at Millbrae so that we will operate independently of Caltrain at that station. We need to travel at high speeds in order to meet our legislative mandate. We need to be able to serve San Francisco to Los Angeles in 2 hours and 40 minutes. In order to do that, we'll be running at 220 miles an hour in the Central Valley. On the peninsula, our maximum speed will be 110. But in order to reach those higher speeds, we have to straighten out some of Caltrain's tracks. We're going to stay within their right-of-way, but we're going to tighten curves, and we're also going to use super elevation. When you're on a highway and you go at high speeds, the highway is banked. Same thing with railroad tracks. They can be banked so that you can travel at higher speeds and still be comfortable. We are proposing to have 4 high-speed trains and 6 commuter trains per direction during the peak hour, during the peak period, in the rush hours in the morning and evening. So it'll be a total of 20 trains per hour. We recognize that's a lot of volume of trains. And because of that, we are considering safety modifications at all the at-grade crossings. We want to put in 4-quadrant gates that make it very difficult to drive into an intersection. And we're also going to pay to complete the perimeter fencing program that Caltrain has begun. They have some perimeter fencing. We're going to pay to have that completed, so it's very difficult for pedestrians to get onto the tracks. We're going to address the holdout rules at Burlingame and Atherton. If you're familiar with Caltrain operations, there are 5 stations called holdout rules where a platform is between the tracks. Passengers have to walk across a track to get to that platform. So whenever a train is in one of those 5 stations, no other train can come into it. We obviously need to eliminate that so that trains can keep passing and keep moving. So Caltrain is going to address it at South San Francisco. We're planning to address it at Burlingame Broadway and at Atherton. And at Stanford, it's only used for football games, so that's not very frequent. And then there's one at College Park, just above Diridon, and we may be able to solve that one as well with the design that we're proposing. We're also going to consider safety enhancement at the Caltrain stations, because if our trains are passing at 110 miles an hour, you've got to make sure that the people standing on that platform are safe. A little bit about the light maintenance facility, which this is an important element of the project. We looked at other sites. We considered places over on the port of San Francisco as well as at the airport, and we did find some land that could be usable, but it's impossible to design the kind of facility we need where you can pull in and pull through. The 2 sites that we looked at the airport and the port, they were very constricted, they were awkwardly shaped, we would have had to back in and out, and it just wasn't feasible to do the kind of work we need to do. So we're looking at the site in Brisbane where the Southern Pacific had its yards. We are looking at 2 different alternatives for this element. As I told you, one will be on the east side, one on the west side. Here's a diagram to give you an idea of how big our facility would be. What looks like a rubber chicken, that's our facility. And you can see all the vacant land. The Southern Pacific used to have its facility here, and over here, this is all mostly landfill that was created after the 1906 earthquake. So we're considering an option here where we'd be on the east side of the mainline tracks, and we're also considering an option on the west side. We would only use one. So there are competing development pressures for this land. We recognize that, but as I said, we only need to use one side. So other development can be complementary and can continue. And we do notice that in order to make the configuration that we're proposing, we're going to have to shift the southbound platform at Bayshore a little to the south. And that's a concern to the people who live here in this part of the city. But we're trying to keep that shift as minimum as possible to make it convenient for pedestrians. Common to both of them, there'll be changes that we have to make, some of the roadway pattern in the area of the yards. We will design it so we fly over the tracks. There's limited impact of conflicting moves. When Caltrain can keep operating, we can take a flyover so we avoid crossing the tracks at grade. Okay, we're also considering passing tracks, as I told you. One alternative, no new additional passing tracks. The other, the short middle 4. We considered these 3 different ideas, all in the middle of the alignment. The short middle 4 is about 6 miles long. It starts just south of 9th Avenue in downtown San Mateo, and it would end just before Whipple in Redwood City. So it would end on the other side of Redwood City from here. It wouldn't be on the south side of Redwood City. We had also considered longer options. The green one is a long middle track, long 4 track, which is about 8 miles long. And we also considered the middle 3 track, which is about 16 miles long. We are no longer considering these 2. We are proposing only to consider the red one, which is the shortest of the 3. If, for some reason, in discussions with Caltrain, they want us to bring these back for consideration, you all should pay attention because the green one will go further south and into Redwood City, close to here. It'll actually touch up to where the Dumbarton tracks are, where the current 4 track is, south of Redwood City. Alternatively, if we do a middle 3 track, it'll go all the way south of Palo Alto. We recognize that these are significant impacts on the communities. That's why we do not want to even consider the green or the blue ones anymore. We're considering no new passing tracks or the red one, the shortest option of passing tracks. As I said, it's about 6 miles long, and we're also considering an option where there's no new passing tracks because we recognize the impact that this construction could have on the communities. No new passing tracks, we'd still be able to pass. Currently, Caltrain has 3 sets of passing tracks in place. Down in Lawrence, south of Redwood City, where the Dumbarton Spur goes off, that's where there's a 4-track section currently. And there's also a 4-track section up at Bayshore. Baby bullet trains use these bypass points to get past local commuter trains today. And what we're proposing is that we will use them as well to bypass local trains without having to build additional passing tracks. Also, we're going to have a 4-track station at Millbrae. That'll be another place where we could pass slower trains. The option for passing tracks that is on the table is the short middle 4. And I said it's 6 miles long from downtown San Mateo almost to downtown Redwood City. Wherever the track is currently at grade, the passing tracks would be at grade. Any place where it's on a berm, we'd be on a berm. We may have to build a structure at San Carlos in order to get past the historic station, or we may be able to move it. So we're still working out on that design. But as I said, this would end at Whipple Avenue on the north side of Redwood City. It would not affect North Fair Oaks. The reason to consider the passing tracks is because it would provide greater operational flexibility for Caltrain to run a variety of different kinds of services. If we do not build the additional passing tracks, it'll be a little bit more limited on what kind of schedules and stopping patterns that Caltrain can consider. But we believe it's worth the trade-off instead of affecting a lot of communities with significant infrastructure impacts, that we believe we can address this through operations instead. And the third element is the viaduct into Diridon. Diridon San Jose Station, we're considering at grade, meaning where it is today, or we may also consider building an elevated station above the current station. Because there's so many operators going in and out of that station, you've got Caltrain, Amtrak, ACE, Capital Corridor. There's a lot of movement. All those operators want to increase their service in the future, so we now believe that we're going to need to build an elevated station at Diridon. And I'm here to tell you that we're looking at 2 different options for the peninsula to get up to that elevated station. A short viaduct that would begin at 880 and a long viaduct that would begin back here at Scott. I think I've got it. There you go. See? So the long one starts all the way back here at Scott, and it would be elevated through Santa Clara into Diridon. The short one would only begin at 880 and go into the station at Diridon. Obviously, the shorter one has fewer impacts and would be cheaper to build, but there is one important stakeholder, the Union Pacific Railroad, which has trackage in this area. If the Union Pacific does not agree to our shifting their tracks, then we'll have to start the viaduct back at Scott. But if we can work with the railroad and they're willing to move their tracks, then we could begin the viaduct at 880 instead. So again, the short viaduct's about 1.5 miles long, but we would need Union Pacific approval to do it. The long viaduct's about 4 miles long, and it doesn't involve a decision by Union Pacific. So those are our 2 options at the southern end of the alignment. I was moving quickly because I wanted to get to this slide. When we were here last August and we presented the project, these were the issues that you said we were concerned about. So I wanted to tell you what the status is now. One issue was noise, the noise of the trains and the operations of the trains. Those impacts are going to be very detailed and very well discussed in the environmental document, and they're quite detailed and technical. So I'm not going to try to summarize them now because the analysis is not yet complete, but it will certainly be an important topic that will be addressed in the environmental document. There's questions about grade separations. We're currently proposing to cooperate with Caltrain and San Mateo County to build a grade separation at what's today called Hillsdale. 25th Avenue, 28th Avenue, and 31st Avenue are all going to be built as through streets connecting the two sides of the community, and the railroad tracks, currently Caltrain and in the future Caltrain and high-speed rail, are being realigned so that those streets can pass under. So we're actually creating 3 new grade separations here, but besides this project, we don't have identified any other grade separations as part of our project. As I said, safety is an issue. People were concerned about Caltrain's issue with suicide, and that's why I'm stressing that we're going to work to have that complete fencing along the right-of-way. If people are determined to do something, you can't always completely stop them. What you can do is do everything in your power to stop them. So we want to completely fence off the alignment to make it very difficult for pedestrians or anyone to get into that dangerous situation. And obviously, and for good reason, you asked what the impacts would be to Fair Oaks. So I tried to customize what I was talking about. I think the thing that really affects Fair Oaks the most is if those other passing track concepts are brought back onto the table. That would certainly be an issue that I would encourage you to follow. But if we're successful in negotiating with Caltrain and they agree that we just consider the one short middle 4 passing track, then I think North Fair Oaks is going to be in good situation. That's the only issue that I encourage you to follow, is if those passing tracks are brought back. And with that, I wanted to open the floor for questions.
Thank you for your presentation. If any council members have questions, please go ahead and ask them.
Yes, I have a question. So you cannot define a time frame because of all the different moving parts. So the funding, does that affect your funding?
No, the
You must
funding
have
is
some. You must
identified.
have some limits.
We do, and we're
What are
working
they?
within those limits. But what's really holding us back right now is the coordination with the Federal Railroad Administration. This project had 10 different environmental documents associated with it, all the way down to San Diego. And they have limited resources in Washington to be able to process and work on these documents. EPA, Corps of Engineers, and Federal Railroad Administration, all of them are in this situation. So there's a powwow going on back in Washington to decide what are the priorities, which pieces need to come first, which pieces can wait later. We're hoping within the next 4 to 6 weeks to have that worked out. Once we know that, then we can put dates on the steps of our project. But honestly, I don't think we're going to have an environmental document any sooner than 2019. That would be the earliest, I think.
And you didn't identify any new grade separations, correct?
That's correct.
So what about enhancing the one that's already here in North Fair Oaks?
We are happy to work
'Cause
with
there's
the
gonna
local
be
communities. And if the local
4 more
community is interested in
trains?
it, there will be more trains in both directions, that's right. We'll build the 4 quadrant gates so that the intersections will be safer. It'll be harder for people to get in there. But because there are more trains, there'll be more frequent gate downtime. We recognize that.
Wow. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
When you were speaking about the passing tracks, it may happen, it may not happen. Is that cost already kind of included in the total cost, or would that be extra cost?
That would add to the cost. The last time that we costed this section was for the 2016 business plan, and it was approximately $3.1 billion to build the project on the peninsula. But if we have to build passing tracks, that might increase the cost.
At this point, are you still looking for cities to host stations, or you're pretty much set with the stations?
No, at this point, we're moving forward with just the stations at Millbrae and Diridon. And as I said, in the future, if any mid-peninsula cities want to entertain having a station, we'll be happy to work with them. It's just not currently part of the project.
Okay. Would it be too costly to add more stations?
It's
or-
not a cost issue, really. It's just a matter of whether a host city is ready to host it and whether the market analysis is showing that it really would be worth the investment.
Okay.
But it's certainly something that can happen in the future.
You also mentioned that you were considering adding a facility in Brisbane.
That's right.
But wasn't that a flooding zone? At least the lower part.
Yeah, there are also environmental issues there. That land was used by the railroad and was used as a dump, so there are a lot of environmental issues having to do with what's in that soil. So we recognize that we are going to have to address that, flooding, contaminants, and other issues, because that's been an industrial land for a long time. You can imagine it's got a lot of environmental issues. But we would address those as well as build our facility, and we would have to address any potential flooding. We would have to build our facility high enough to avoid flooding.
Okay. And are you following any specific model from any city in the world, or what are the sort of the standards that you're getting ideas from?
Yeah, from other operations, other railroads. There are good examples here in the United States as well as overseas.
Okay.
I did have a question then. So it's August, or it's
Almost.
still July. Okay, it's almost August.
Almost.
So you're doing outreach at every kind of phase, every phase you're taking that process through. Would you be coming back to North Fair Oaks, say January?
We're happy to come back anytime you want us to come.
Okay. Well, I don't know, because it seems like there's a lot to do between now and the end of the year, so.
There is. As I say, we're happy to come when you ask us. However,
Okay.
it's obvious that if we don't get the process moving enough and we don't have anything new to tell you, then it wouldn't make sense to come. But we encourage you to let us know when you're interested in an update, and if we do have news to share, we'd be happy to come and talk.
And what other types of outreach are you actually doing?
Oh, we're meeting with city councils, we're meeting with neighborhood associations, we're
Oh,
working
okay.
with small communities. We spoke to the Belmont City Council, the San Carlos City Council. We're setting up a meeting with the greater St. Carlos community. So anyone who's interested, and we're actively trying to make sure that we're aware of the groups that are out there and who might be interested.
Are the
in the project.
neighborhoods sharing some of the same concerns around
Oh, yeah.
noise,
Yeah.
safety, and such?
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Many of the impacts are universal.
thank you.
That was my question.
So what would be the next milestone? Would that be the environmental report? Or?
Yeah, and when we're closer to having that environmental report ready, then we're going to ramp up the outreach to get everyone ready and get them aware. There will be formal hearings associated with the release of the document.
And did you mention by when you're expecting that?
No, because as I said, we're not able to put dates on our schedule right now until our federal partners agree to those dates.
I see. And so, but are you documenting sort of the process on your website, or?
Oh yeah, that's the best place to
Providing
go to
steps.
see anything new.
Okay. Because I'm thinking in terms of, when it would be a good opportunity to have you back
Sure.
to share some information, and as long as we can follow up on your website,
Please do. I've
what
got the
information
information
you
up
get.
here now for you.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Anybody? Well, thanks very much. We hope to
Thank
see you
you.
sometime
Thank you for
again.
your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment for this specific item? Seems not. Thank you again.
Thank you.
We'll move on to the next item. That'll be the Office of Immigrant Support and Coordination, presentation by Jasmine Hartenstein.
Thank you, Victor.
Good evening.
Hello.
Thank you. All right, so I prepared a very brief presentation. I felt that more time for questions and answers would be good at the end as well. So if you haven't heard, the Office of Immigrant Support and Coordination was initially started as a 2-year pilot program or project by Supervisor Slocum and some community-based organizations and advocates who recognize some of these statistics on San Mateo County that a third of the county is actually is an immigrant population. And so in 2015, September of 2015, I'm just shy of 2 years, the office started, and basically I was tasked with creating a 2-year draft plan, programs and projects that, influenced by community members and community meetings, would help support and serve San Mateo County's immigrant population. So the office focuses on connecting immigrants to available resources in the county government as well as community-based organizations. We participate in regional convenings and collaborate with other immigrant affairs offices like the one in Santa Clara County, the one in San Francisco, as well as the office in San Jose. Throughout the year, we attend meetings, the Immigrant Forum that's hosted by the Red Cross in Burlingame, and we've been a point of reference for not only organizations serving immigrants, but immigrant individuals themselves, family members, residents, and concerned neighbors. So we've really tried to create resources and information sharing for the community at large. So one of the programs or projects that we participate in is working with the Human Services Agency in partnering with local nonprofit service providers throughout the county to provide free citizenship workshops. So we work with the International Institute of the Bay Area, Legal Aid Society, Community Legal Services of East Palo Alto, and many others who come together to recruit and train volunteers, screen all applicants who attend, for eligibility for citizenship, provide application and fee waiver assistance, and a final review by an attorney for their completed application. So these services can cost residents anywhere from $100 to $1,000, but they receive everything at these events for free. HSA targets their client population in a certain geographical area. So we've hosted 7 so far, and we're hosting another one in October in Daly City. They've outreached to over 9,000 individuals. Almost 1,600 clients have received initial screenings. Almost 800 individuals have actually completed their application for citizenship, with over 500 of them being eligible for the fee waiver. So that saves roughly $400,000 for these individuals that don't have to pay for an attorney fee as well as the USCIS application fee. And so we help coordinate those events, find locations, do the outreach, and connect with volunteers to provide this type of service. We've also hosted the San Mateo County's first Immigrant Integration Summit, and we're currently planning for our second one. We had roughly 120 attendees with about 13 specialists to speak on behalf of immigrant integration issues. Of the attendees that came, we had a survey as well, and so 84% of those that attended said that the overall experience was excellent or good, and the same percent said that they learned something new that they could actually apply in their day-to-day work. One common theme that came up during the summit along with the survey was barriers for integration, and one of those barriers was language access. And so that came out through this Immigrant Integration Summit. And I'm not sure if any of you know, but recently in June, the Board of Supervisors for San Mateo County passed a language access policy, and that was based on some of the input from these attendees. So we're looking for actionable items to be able to come back this year and let them know. We did see what they were talking about. We saw their concern, and now San Mateo County is working on a language access policy throughout its departments. Another thing that came about in some of the meetings prior to my position was a consolidated list of resources, information on services that serve immigrant populations. And so what I did was create a website to have all of these services available not only to service providers but to individuals themselves. The website is also able to be translated into multiple languages. You can have immigration legal services. There's lawyers in the library. There's a community event calendar. You can request a verification of your benefits for the fee waiver for citizenship. There's a map that you can find ESL or food pantries. So it's got a ton of resources available for service providers that may not provide immigration, but they need that information for their clients as well. When I was previously housed in the Human Services Agency, we worked with Legal Aid Society to come out with a brochure that let residents know what types of benefits are available for certain types of immigrants, whether you're a U.S. citizen, whether you're a permanent resident, a refugee, or even undocumented. So we realized we didn't have this in any type of brochure format. Also, based on some of the community input that we got, there wasn't any type of document that let residents know HSA does not share information with ICE. We don't use that information for any type of federal immigration policies. And so that was something that some of the organizations, the community-based organizations, thought was crucial because HSA is a government agency. Some people are coming from countries where the government isn't trusted. So we wanted to really make that clear that HSA is a benefit for those that are eligible for it and not to have any resistance or hesitancy to obtain that. And so that leaves us with some of the current projects and beyond. We continue to do community outreach and information dissemination. So I work with a lot of community-based organizations to attend, to present on the office, to present on certain resources, connect with other organizations to host immigration forums. We also are still doing the free citizenship workshops. The Immigrant's Gateway to Resources, that will be a resource guide coming out later this year that mimics the Community Information Handbook, but it's geared more towards services and service providers for immigrants. The language access policy, so we did have that passed, and we're working on a full scope of service as well as a budget for that. And the second Immigrant Integration Summit, which will be hosted in October at the Fox Theater again. So that is a little bit of everything that I've been doing for the past 2 years. If there's any questions or comments.
Thanks very much. If any council members have questions,
I'm
please.
sorry, what's the purpose of the summit?
The purpose of the summit is to inform and educate those that are attending, as well as educate and inform the office for future projects.
Are they the service providers?
So service providers do attend, and elected officials. So we've invited, last year we had council members attend, mayors, Supervisor Slocum also speaks at the event. Some county staff from different agencies, the Housing Department, County Manager's Office, HSA. So it's we try to get the business community in there, but it's not as conducive of an environment for them, so we aren't going to target them this year. But it's mostly to educate and inform community-based organizations working with immigrants, as well as county staff, elected officials, and my office for future programs and projects.
I'm trying to figure out how, Jasmine, I'm trying to figure out how you integrate with, for example, Fair Oaks Community Center. Do you actually have an office, or do they refer to you?
So I do.
Because all of their caseload, I would think, is overlaps with a lot of these areas. So I'm just trying to figure out how it actually works.
Yeah, when the office was started, it was made clear that I was not going to be a service provider. One person for 33% of 758,000 residents wouldn't be efficient for the time and cost of the program. So what I've done is worked with a lot of the community-based organizations. If people do call, I have a lot of people call my office, and I still connect them with resources or a person that I know in a service organization that I can connect them with. I do provide that assistance. I won't turn anyone away, but we don't advertise as somebody to come into my office and get assisted with applying for CalFresh. We try and direct them to those types of benefits or services. And then same thing, I get a lot of organizations calling. Some legal service providers needed help with emergency housing for their clients. I'll connect them with one of the shelters or the core service agencies. One of the core service agencies needed more assistance with ESL preparation for civics classes. So I'm really more of a resource and connector for the communities, so that hopefully, and again, most of that information is found online, so that if I'm unavailable or somebody doesn't know about me, that they can go to the website and find that information as well. So basically, to try and have a full scope of services that is in San Mateo County that anyone can find, but if they need extra assistance, then yes, I do provide that.
Thank you.
I have a question. What's the percentage of applicants that actually become citizens from the workshops that you guys give?
So we don't have any of the legal service information, and I don't believe that that information is captured. I would have to refer to our partner agencies, IIBA, and their partners. I know that they do intakes, but I'm not sure the follow-up, because if you can imagine, if we have one workshop with 300 people who are getting this free assistance, if they had to do follow-up for all of those on top of their normal caseloads, I know that they don't have the capacity for that. We do know that a lot of people call back for extra assistance or call back if they've received a notice from the USCIS to clarify what that notice means. They do that. But I would have to refer to them about the actual percentage if they even capture that information.
Okay, I have a question regarding the how the community can contact you. Can you clarify that? I understand this only by phone or
Phone and email.
Oh, email.
Yeah. And the website has my phone and email, so I don't have that on here. I can pass out my cards when I get a moment. But yeah, by phone or email. I don't necessarily have an office location on any of the brochures. Again, I was previously in HSA at 1 Davis. Now I'm at 455 County Center, and I'll be moving again. So it's not really feasible right now to put any type of materials out there with a physical address when everything can be done over the phone or via email, as well as if I'm consistently moving. We wouldn't want people to not be able to find me.
Go ahead.
Hi, I just had a quick question about one of your projects. You said you were going to have a resource guide out, or it was out already?
That's coming out.
Oh, it's coming out? Do you have about a date when it might be out?
I'm currently working with the design team for that, and then I'm researching printers for the next phase. So depending on the processes for within the county, for vendors and contractors for that, I'm not as familiar, so it could be a month or two. But the information is fully completed with about 400 resources provided.
And how many languages will it be in?
English and Spanish for now.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? I do have a couple of questions. One of those is, I am familiar with some of the legal aid or organizations around here in the peninsula, but do you guys do work along the shores of the county, like in Pescadero and Half Moon Bay? Because I know there's also big, large immigrant communities along there.
Yeah, the partnership that we have with HSA and IIBA are some of the workshops that we do, the free citizenship workshops. That's the only immigration application assistance that we have involvement in, and we've done it in every region of the county. So our last one was actually in May in Half Moon Bay, and so we've kind of worked around the county from the north, going through Central. We've had one in San Mateo, we've had one in San Bruno, in Redwood City, in East Palo Alto, in Half Moon Bay, and then we're going back up to Daly City.
Okay. And you mentioned that this was a 2-year trial, right? This program.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it required to have it continue?
Yeah, I think them to not tell me to stop coming in. No, so I've been told that it will continue based on the work that's been produced. I think that that's initially why they made it a 2-year pilot program, and that's why it was housed in HSA. So once they started seeing some of the work that was being done via the office, as well as with some of the communities and community-based organizations, I think that they saw the real value added, and so I've been told that it's going to continue. There hasn't been an end date, so I think that that's good news, but I couldn't tell you if it's going on forever.
Yeah, I believe the County of Santa Clara has a similar program or something to that effect. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, so Santa Clara County has had their office for roughly 10 years, I believe, and their San Jose actually has a new office roughly the same time as San Mateo started theirs, and then San Francisco as well has had their office for so much longer. But I currently work with them both in San Francisco, Santa Clara, and San Jose. We've reached out to them on numerous things like the language access policy. They both have language access policies in their counties, and so we've tried to pull some of the information that they've provided us, some of the best practices and trials and errors. And when we do have, immigration summits, we reach out to them. I also go to convenings that are statewide and national with those colleagues as well. So we do work relatively closely because they have been in existence for a little bit a lot longer than we have.
So are we trying to sort of follow their model of services, or is this different? I mean, I understand that this is a one person show to run versus I don't know how many people the other counties may have in these programs.
Yeah. Ideally, I would love to get to some of the programs and projects that San Francisco County has within their office, but they've got, I want to say, almost 50 people. And just for an example, if you look at their language access policy report, it's about 50 pages. They've got 51 departments that are now a part of that process that they have to report. They have to have certain mandates, and it's an incredible program with its flaws as well that they're working on. I wouldn't say we would mimic everything. I think that we've got a specific situation here as well. So I think you have to tailor it to your communities. But I definitely look to them as well as some of the other national offices of what they've already done for best practices and a little bit of guidance and advice as well as from our local residents as well.
And in comparison between 2016 and so far 2017, have you seen an increase after the beginning of this administration? Has it been a tremendous increase or not in the demand for services that you provide? Or referrals, for that matter?
It would depend on what type of services. So immigration, yes, definitely. There's been an uptick in people wanting to know their status, wanting to know if their status can come of anything. In terms of other types of services, like CalFresh or Medi-Cal, there has been talk that there might be a drop because it is a government agency. They do collect information, names, contact numbers, addresses. So people are definitely hesitant, specifically the undocumented immigrants. But and it's not only the undocumented immigrants that are being affected by national rhetoric. When we've hosted these free citizenship workshops in the past, we do a robocall as well. We mail them a letter, we mail them an invite, and then we send a voicemail basically to the residents. And I've had multiple people call me back asking, is this real? How did you get my information? How did you know I wanted to apply for citizenship? I just started looking into it. So there's a lot of hesitation of, should I apply now or should I wait? And so those are permanent residents that are here legally with, documents. So the fear is felt within the whole immigrant community, and we are seeing a lot of service providers reaching out to us for connecting to other services or other providers. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then last question about your summit. Did you mention when that is? taking place?
Yeah, the date is October 18th at the Fox Theater, and that's all that's confirmed as of now.
And is anyone welcomed, or who do you invite?
Yeah, we usually send it out through some of our networks, some of the nonprofit organizations, community-based organizations within the county staff, within city staff. So we do have a registration event page that we usually post up as well, and I think we register about 140 and get about 120 that attend. That's kind of the max that we're at for now, but I can share that information with Victor, and he can share that with the group if you guys are interested.
That would be great.
in attending,
Yeah, we would appreciate it if you share it with us. Anyone else has?
Yeah, I have another question.
Yeah.
Are you planning to have more workshop in the community?
What type of workshop?
The immigration?
So we rely heavily on our partners, IIBA. They received funding through the county for legal services, and they work with other organizations like Legal Aid Society and CLESPA. And so based on their schedules, because we need a certain amount of volunteer attorneys to produce these types of events, especially if we have 300 attendees, we're going to need at least minimum of 20 volunteer attorneys, and they work throughout the Bay Area wide. So a lot of them participate in events in San Jose and San Francisco. And so we work with them on their schedule. So we generally host events anywhere between 3 and 6 months apart, based on the organization's capacity. We can get as many volunteers as we need. We've actually seen an uptick in volunteers since the election. We met 150 volunteers almost immediately, which was amazing. But without the volunteer attorneys, that's one of the most crucial steps of those workshops. And so we have to kind of wait on their capacity for those types of events. But yeah, we're going to continue to host them, and I think we've kind of started a circle, starting in the north of the county and then working our way down and then around on the coast, so that it kind of spaces that time out from the last time that they've been issued given a workshop. But there's other workshops that happen in the communities. I know IIBA hosts them, Catholic Charities hosts them, some of the smaller workshops in-house. They do it throughout the county. They don't get the 300 people, but it's much smaller, and it still is effective, and that's happening. We have that information on the website, on the community event calendar, so we highlight that for residents who don't want to wait for a workshop in their area from us.
What's IBEA?
IIBA is the International Institute of the Bay Area. They're actually housed here.
Institute. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
You're throwing out some letters.
I apologize.
Okay. And you mentioned CLEPSA. What is that?
Community Legal Services of East Palo Alto.
Oh, right, CLEPSA. Okay. Were you done? 'Cause
Yeah.
I have another question.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Thank you very much for.
Thank you.
Mine is more of a comment. That it seems that it's more. It seems that it would be more of a benefit to hold a summit in North Fair Oaks as opposed to a summit downtown. Because I believe I went to one. I think I did. I went to the one last year, and is it at the Fox Theater? I think it was like 11 o'clock.
It was from 9 to 2.
Yeah. It attracts a certain population, mostly county people, some politicians, but the energy, and it was very well catered, I remember that.
That was VRS.
The energy to put something like that together to, I guess you want to kind of do a report back. But I saw it mainly as just, everyone giving themselves a pat on the back, which is good. But as far as getting information to the community, I think it makes more sense to do a summit in the community, not at the Fox Theater. That's just my comment, Jasmine. Take it however you want.
No, it's okay. And just to partially address that is we do try and keep it central, because we do invite people from the northern part of the county, people definitely from the coast we've had attend. So we try and keep it as centrally located so that it's feasible for people coming from all different areas.
Is the summit somewhat more geared towards the discussion of legislation and, the organizations that provide the services, or is it more informative geared towards the public that are going to be using these services?
It's geared more towards service providers and county and city staff so that it can help inform them when they make policies and legislation that there's a community that's in need, and they should be thought of when certain policies are made, right? 33% of our population are foreign-born, and so we want to make sure that service providers know that city council members know that other elected officials realize that. And so we do try and have it informative, but also have kind of discussions of certain challenges or issues that this population faces, as well as some strategic action items that organizations can partner with, city councils, or that the community can take and start using those tools or those programs or projects within their own community to better serve the immigrant population.
Understood. Anyone else? Great. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
And are there any questions from the public about this item? I don't see any, so we will move on to the next item on the agenda. We will have a presentation from the organization called Study.com on the Working Scholars Program.
I'll be right back. I think they stepped out for a second.
Okay.
Oh,
They're taking a break, so we'll be back shortly.
yeah, I went to the summit last year. Just saw a bunch of politicians. That's all it was. Giving themselves a pat on the back. But they did have a good lunch, and I remember that.
I just remember that.
No workshops or anything like that. Maybe they'll do something different. What is this now? Working Scholars? Right.
Again, like I said, we will have a presentation from the organization called Study.com about the Working Scholars Program. Welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having us. We're very happy to be here tonight. My name is Tim Beezer. I'm the Vice President of Finance and Operations for Study.com, and I also help to run the Working Scholars Program.
And my name is Bo Celli, and I'm the Community Relations Coordinator for Study.com.
So we're here to talk about the Working Scholars Program. So the Working Scholars Program is a community-funded bachelor's degree for working adults. And we'll go into kind of what that means as we go through our presentation. So why we're performing this program, none of these are going to be terribly shocking stances, but I mean, basically, college is becoming far too expensive and is becoming out of reach for far too many people. The lack of a bachelor's degree significantly inhibits an individual's career mobility and lifetime earnings. And there's a large portion of our population that has significant student debt, and sometimes even without a degree to show for it. Our program tries to address that through lowering the common barriers to education around time and then the financial barriers that come along with it. Our overarching strategy is the Working Scholars is built mobile first. So Study.com is an online education platform that you can access via your mobile phone and take credit recommended courses that transfer to a regionally accredited institution. So it's a mobile first program. And in addition to just a bachelor's degree, we try to build in additional components to the program that we feel are important. The first is financial literacy. Every single person that applies to our program takes a personal finance course that goes over base concepts like debt, interest, the difference between leasing and buying a car, for example, those kind of fundamental life skills that are important and not necessarily taught in either high school or even college for that matter. We also work on issues having to do with personal brand. So that is how to market yourself in the digital age. The days of working at, Ford or GM for 30 to 40 years and having to only find one job throughout your career are gone. And you need to be able to find a new job and be career mobile as you go through your career. We also deal with certificates basically on basic career skills and also higher level leadership skills. So as you're progressing through the program, we also provide the participants of the program with certificates that they can show to prospective employers or even current employers that show that they are actively engaged in an educational program that will eventually lead towards a degree, but in the meantime, they are achieving these different skill sets that go along with it to make them more promotable and have higher earnings ability. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Bo.
So what is Working Scholars? Working Scholars, it's a proven model that we've established in Mountain View. We have about 300 Working Scholars actively working through the program. It is a very unique public-private partnership with private sector, the community that we partner with. It is run through a 501c3 at the Silicon Valley Community Foundation, and we are also working with the public sector. The public sector is the Thomas Edison State University public school that is a non-profit, fully accredited university. Do you want to say anything more about this one? Or?
Yeah, no, just so Thomas Edison is located physically in New Jersey. They're an all online college. They were founded in 1972 with a focus on the non-traditional student and the working adult. We have cemented or worked with them in the past on our enterprise product, where we work with large corporations that are trying to provide subsidized degrees to their workforce. For example, JetBlue Airways has about 750 employees that are working towards a no-cost bachelor's degree, courtesy of JetBlue's, and this program, that program basically serves as the proof of concept and the model that we are then utilizing for this philanthropic endeavor that we're doing.
So for a quick comparison, a lot of us are very familiar with the traditional college pathway. It is every BA or BS is 120 units. The traditional pathway on average takes more than 4 years, but it takes generally at least 4 years. It's the traditional go to class, lecture, homework. For every 15 hours of class you have during the week, you generally have about 15 hours of homework plus. It's a synchronous fixed schedule where you have to go to class Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or select days at certain times. Like I said, 40 plus hours a week, and the cost ranges anywhere between $40,000 to upwards of $250,000 and more with extra fees. The Working Scholars program, and we will explain more as we go on, and we'll answer your questions how this is possible. It's the same BA or BS degree, 120 units, but it can be done in as little as 1 year. The program typically we're seeing is probably going to take an average of 2 to 3 years, depending upon how much previous college credit you have. Because our Working Scholars program, a lot of people, it is attractive to a lot of people who have previous college credit that transfer into our program. The curriculum itself, it is based upon a model that Study.com has been perfecting basically over the past 15 years, where the curriculum is divided up into small 5-minute segments. It is built mobile friendly. It is delivered to your phone. So whenever you want to go to class, for as little or as long as you want to attend class, you can go to school. A lot of our Working Scholars in Mountain View, if you have a 10-minute break, you can take out your phone, go to a quick class, take the quiz, save your spot, and go on. Self-paced, 24/7. You never have to go at a certain time. There's never a teacher that you have to log in and report to. So again, it's 24/7. We have done some math on this, and on average, if somebody spends an hour a day on the Working Scholars platform, if they're starting with 0 college credits, they can get a 4-year bachelor's degree in about 2 years' time if you do just an hour a day. The cost of the Working Scholars program ranges anywhere between $4,300 to $8,500, not to the student. The whole program is run by corporate philanthropy and is paid for by corporations as part of their corporate social responsibility.
Yeah, just to reiterate that, so there's absolutely no cost to any participant of the programs. The entire program is funded through, as Bo mentioned, corporate philanthropy, grants, and then also individual donors. So we, as representatives of the program, go out and fundraise into the community, and then we go into various communities of need in order to provide the program and the benefit. How it works is pretty simple. You apply for the program. Once enrolled into the program, we have success coaches, which is kind of tantamount to a academic counselor that helps you that onboards you into the program, reviews your previous coursework, sets a degree plan in terms of what courses you need to take in what particular order. Then at that point, you take up to 90 credits on Study.com's platform, aggregate that credit, transfer it to Thomas Edison State University, take your remaining credits, and then graduate with a bachelor's degree. That's the very high-level, simple explanation. There's a little bit more detail to that, but that is essentially how it works in terms of it's a two-step process. Complete as much as you can on Study.com, aggregate your previously existing credit, transfer, finish your remaining coursework, and you're done.
And those further details, we're happy to answer questions for at the end. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is just a quick demographic breakdown of the Mountain View cohort. So this is a total population size of about 300 people, and this was a snapshot taken on June 1st. So this is Mountain View. The average median income in Mountain View is very high. It's about $120,000 per year. The program, we generally do not put any kind of parameters on it in terms of an income ceiling. We try to really take all comers whenever possible. Nevertheless, 85% of the people that have signed up for the program are below median income within Mountain View. It also overrepresents diversity or minorities in the city of Mountain View by about 15%. In terms of the different employers or job types that are utilizing this program, we have a huge mixture. We have a large military contingent from Moffett Field. We have members of the Mountain View Wisman School District on the administrative and classified staff. We have employees for the city of Mountain View. We have a lot of contractors for large tech firms that work in the janitorial, service, and food service industries, retail. So it's a very wide cross-section of the population that is looking to find an opportunity as it pertains to education. Some testimonials, we'll skip over that. Just as a quick note, we recently won a $100,000 grant in Mountain View that was put on by Google, Synopsys, LinkedIn, and Symantec. The basis of the grant was to find a new innovative approach to a long-standing problem and to make Mountain View a more equitable and compassionate place to live. We put our Working Scholars program up for the grant and won the $100,000 level, and that money gets put directly into the Education Foundation that we run as part of the program and goes directly to benefit the students. There's no overhead, salaries, rents, marketing costs, or anything like that are actually absorbed by the program. Study.com absorbs all of that cost, and all of the money that we fundraise goes directly to benefit the students that are involved. We're not asking for any financial support here. At this point, we're just really beginning our outreach into the North Fair Oaks community. We want to raise awareness, socialize the program, determine if this is an issue of need, which I believe it is in the particular community, and if the Working Scholars would be welcome and hosted in this particular community, and we could begin our work. Here's just some general questions in terms of kind of some frequently asked questions that we get, but at this point I would love to turn it over to the council, and we'd be happy to answer anything that you guys have.
Thanks very much for your presentation. And before we start with the questions, I must add that initially Redwood City librarian Derek Wolfgram wrote to me introducing this gentleman to me, and the gentleman offered this presentation, which I thought it would be convenient for some of the to have it here for the council, and for some of the community members who could take advantage of this opportunity, since I made sure to clarify that there would be no cost for whoever enrolls in this program, and they assured me that there wasn't. So And so
We're
based
happy
on
to
that,
answer that several times over tonight, though.
yeah, and so based on that, it seems like they're funded, like they said, from corporations, grants and donations. And I believe that they might be pursuing something similar, for this area. They will also probably would be using the library facilities. In essence, the Redwood City Library system would be open to any of the students who are interested in enrolling in this program, so that they can use the library facilities to do their studying, etc. And so, based on that, if you have any questions, please ask them.
Any of the certificates or documentation that's achieved is through the Thomas Edison educational.
So Thomas Edison State
Yeah.
University is yes. So the
okay.
bachelor's degree that
Right.
you are provided at the end of the program is a
Like a legal.
traditional, regionally
Oh, okay.
accredited bachelor's degree. Thomas Edison State University is a part of the state of New Jersey's university and college system. So it is publicly funded. It is nonprofit. It is essentially the same thing as like a San Jose State, but just based in the New Jersey system, not in California.
When was this program started?
So we launched, kind of soft launched last summer, and then
okay.
our formal launch was January of this current year in Mountain View.
So this first cohort of students that you have, they're just basically on their way to certification, hopefully within the, between the first and fourth year.
Correct.
As predicted? Okay.
Yeah.
And the timeline at which they get through it really does vary. We actually have a lot of working scholars who have about 60 or 70 or up to 90 previous college credits. They went to, whether it was Kenyatta or Foothill, and life got in the way and they started working. So those ones are a lot closer to graduating. We also have some kids that are coming out of high school and enrolling in this, and that'll, it'll take a few years to get through it. So it's not everyone is starting at the same spot, which is great about this program because it allows people to come in at all different walks of life.
I have some questions. Thank you for the presentation. I've never heard of this, and this is just great information to know, especially for our population here. So my first question is, can students declare a specific major?
So we offer, there's degrees currently available in two specific pathways. So there's a liberal arts degree and then a business administration degree. We'll also be completing a computer information systems degree in Q1 of 2018. Okay.
And then do you guys also outreach to students fresh out of high school, or is it just you're targeting working adults?
So philosophically, we're targeting working adults because we see the working adult as there's an ability there to get a tremendous lift from a bachelor's degree. Generally, they're already in the workforce. They're precluded from certain advancements because they don't have a bachelor's degree. There's many stories of somebody that, in order to become a manager at a certain, corporation, you need a bachelor's degree as a minimum requirement. So we see this opportunity as kind of specifically made for a working adult in terms of it really suits them best because the flexibility as it pertains to schedule, those kinds of things. That said, it will work for anybody. But the lion's share of our outreach has been it's been focused on working adults.
Okay. Last question. Yeah. And then, do you have to be a U.S. citizen to qualify?
No, we do not check any immigration status or anything like that.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
In regards to the high school students outreach, like Tim said, it's specifically targeted towards, or philosophically targeted towards a working adult. But in my past life, I was a high school teacher 15 years, and I did actually have a lot of high school students who needed to start working right out of high school. And, their path was always junior college. And, I don't have any hard numbers on it, but I'd always check in with a lot of these students 4, 5, 6 years later, and they were not able to navigate out of the junior college system because they had to work a lot, and just working and going to school full time and doing the traditional pathway was not working. So although our intention was not to market this towards high school students, I am very eager to open it up to high school students who want a 4-year degree from a traditional university, but also want to either start supporting their own life, their own families, or the family that raised them, and get a degree at the same time.
So there are online programs that people can get on now, right? And you get your degree and all that online. So what's the big, why your program?
So
What do you offer that they don't?
yeah, so there's a couple of things. One is we're able to do it at a far more cost-effective rate.
Okay.
So a bachelor's degree through our program costs the program about $8,500 in total. Now that is every single thing that you can imagine having to do with a bachelor's. That is, there's no gas to drive to the physical location. There's no books. There's no additional material. It is out the door $8,500. There is no online program around that can match that particular price point. Also, it is the ease and the efficiency of the program. As we mentioned, it's all, you literally take the vast majority of the program on your phone. How it works is, let's say you're taking a Biology 101 class. We've taken Biology 101 and we've cut it up into 150 5-minute videos. Each 5-minute video has a quiz at the end of it to demonstrate competency that you learn the information in that particular lesson. You rinse and repeat 150 times through those 150 lessons. Then at the end, you have to take an online proctored exam. At that point, you do have to get in front of a computer with a front-facing camera to make sure that you're taking the exam with integrity. And once you pass that proctored exam, you are conferred your 3 units of credit. So yes, there are tons of online programs that are available to people, but when you're talking about the combination of lowering the barriers of access in terms of time and then lowering the barriers of access as it pertains to the economics, that's where we really stand apart from a lot of the traditional programs.
Since it's a 24/7 application, you have support 24/7?
Yeah, so
How does that work?
yeah, so
And then my final question is job placement.
so 24/7 support, we are working on, you might not be able to get an answer at 3 o'clock in the morning if you're working on something. We have about a 4 to 5 hour turnaround time on any question through an Ask the Expert feature on our site. So you send an email out at 3 or 4 in the morning, you'll get one 8 or 9 o'clock, or 8 o'clock in the morning the next day. We also have, as I mentioned, success coaches that work individually with the scholars as they're progressing through the program that could also find additional resources to work through a difficult problem. As it pertains to job placement, so as we did mention, the program's about 7 months old, so we are quickly maturing, but job placement is still something that we're working on. I can tell you that the Thomas Edison State University degree is respected in the marketplace. This program is devised from our enterprise partners, so they wouldn't be putting money into something that they don't see as a valuable degree plan that's going to help their workers. Past that, we are also partnering with LinkedIn. So LinkedIn actually hosts personal branding workshops that kind of go along with that I spoke about. And as the program matures, we're looking at LinkedIn as a potential partner, since they are one of the largest job boards around, to help us with job placement. We also have a tremendous amount of connections with employers from our enterprise program, so a natural funnel to some of those particular employers from our program is also something that we would be working on.
Thank you.
I have a question regarding the library service. So the community can come to the library to get the information anytime. The staff of the library can help the community, or you gonna do workshops?
Yeah, so we're not currently operating in North Fair Oaks. This is day one of our outreach to this particular community. But we have been in discussions with the city of Redwood City that their library, which has jurisdiction into this particular area, would be assisting with as it pertains to providing an area for tutoring or those kinds of things. And we would have to be working with either tutors from volunteers from Study.com's actual employees, or additional kind of community ambassadors that we would hire that would be able to work directly with it. So we're not actively operating. We're looking to get a program up and running here sometime in the near future. So we're not quite at that point to where we would be, being able to have a workshop or that kind of thing. Does that make sense? That is very question.
Yeah. Also, because if somebody are interested in applying, how to enroll, when, where to get the information about this program?
Yeah, so you can go to workingscholars.org, and that has all the information in terms of seeing kind of what different chapters. Currently, we're operating in Mountain View, we're operating in Gilroy, we're launching a chapter in East Palo Alto on August 24th, and then the next two communities past that would probably be Sunnyvale and then San Francisco as well.
Hi. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Diane.
I just had a quick question. So, what does the application process look like, and what information is needed to enroll?
It's generally just a demographic survey, how old you are, where do you work. We ask date of birth, average household income, just basically things that we would need to kind of like I showed you in that one slide, kind of create a collective profile so that we can, when we talk to our potential funders, we can say, these are the populations that this particular program is serving. So it's pretty basic. I think it's like 13 or 14 questions.
So it's, and in comparison to, if you come out of high school and you're applying to be accepted to a USC or a CSU, a college, it's, I guess, succinctly to say, it's nothing like that application. You don't have to write an essay. It's not this long, drawn-out application. Application is a very fancy word for a form that you fill out, about 10 to 15 questions, letting us know your information so that we can contact you. The closest thing to the application that I think you might be thinking about is once we verify where you live and your number, your phone number and email and all that stuff, we send you what's called a college success course. It's about an hour-long course that you have to take, again, split up in about 5-minute segments. Few math courses, English courses, just kind of basic 101 type stuff, which everybody always passes. You do it on your own time. You can watch the videos multiple times, pass the quizzes, and then once you pass that, you're in the program, and then you get assigned your first course. Yeah.
Thank you.
I know that you can do the program at your own pace, but is there like a recommended pacing guide that as a student you are recommended to partake? Life happens. So what happens if, I enroll and then I have a family situation, I have to put everything on hold? How does that scenario look?
Yeah, so the minimum requirements to maintain enrollment are you must take at least 6 courses over the course of a year.
Okay.
Generally, people can knock out a course pretty easily in about a month. If you're kind of on the accelerated pace, I would say that about a course a month is probably the way to go to really finish the program in about a 2 to 3 year sprint. That said, we try to allow for the life happens situation by saying that the minimum requirement is only 6 courses. So that way, if you had to take a couple months off, or we're traveling, or family illness or something like that. So we try to build some flexibility into the program in that regard.
And this is unlike a lot of college pathways in a lot of ways, but in one way that is really beneficial to life happening is, as long as you're staying in contact with your success coach and you say, hey, X happened in my family, I'm not going to be able to take a course this month. Okay. As long as you're communicating with us and you get back on that track. As far as life happening, I'll just tell a brief anecdote from Mountain View Working Scholars. One of my favorite scholars is the head secretary at Mountain View Wisdom School District. Single parent, 5 children, tried 2 different community colleges over her life, tried an online university, never was able to get it done. And within the first 6 months of this program has already completed, I think, over 6 courses, and just raves that this is the absolute best program she's seen in her life. And we have literally dozens upon dozens of these stories. So it truly is a degree that fits into the life happens scenario. And if life continues to happen at an accelerated rate, we work with them.
Did you say this organization was founded here in the Bay Area?
Yeah, so Study.com itself has been around since 2002. We were founded by 2 classmates that attended Cal Poly San Luis Obispo together. We're currently based in downtown Mountain View, right across from the train station. We got a big sign there. You'll see it if you're ever in the area. So we are a 105-person company. We have a thriving, traditional business where we're offering the ability to access our courseware for a subscription fee. This particular initiative is a purely philanthropic arm of the company that is really just trying to utilize our courseware and our kind of primary product for social impact. I'm actually the chief financial guy in the company, and this is a passion project of mine that is increasingly taking more and more of my time because it is something that I really enjoy, and being able to go into the community and provide access to education, which is really kind of what led me to be here in front of you today, is very important to me. And so that's something that I've really taken a lot of passion and a lot of effort into.
Thank you. And so what would you say your success rate is?
Yeah, so it's very difficult. The one thing that we kind of get by being so new is we don't have some fancy graduation, percentages to trot out. I can say that about 60 to 70% of people that enroll in the program make active progress throughout it. We do have probably about a third to 40% that kind of fall off, and it still is college. I mean, it is the most effective and efficient way to do college, but at the end of the day, it still requires work, and it still requires to have that drive and and that kind of innate motivation. So if you don't have that, you're not going to succeed in this program like you would not in any others. But I'm pretty confident that we will be in line with kind of average graduation rates that you would see at a CSU, which even that is not terribly great, but I would say that we'll be in line with those numbers.
And also, so what would program enrollment look like for this particular neighborhood, for North Fair Oaks? I mean, would it be income-based or zip code-based?
That's a good question. So in terms of kind of what the 1, 2, 3s in terms of the process would look like, basically we would ask for some kind of a letter of support from a community organization such as yourself. We have a large corporate funder that is mentioned North Fair Oaks is a particular community of interest. We would take that information back and then see if we could work out a deal to fund the program. Once we were assured that funding was going to be there, then we would interact with the community again to set up what we would call like a launch event, basically, where we would hold a forum very similar to this and kind of introduce the program to all the people that are interested in the community. At that point, we would accept applications, and then generally we'll have more applications than there are seats or funding available. So let's say we had 100 applications and 25 seats available. As Bo mentioned, everybody has to take those 2 courses, College Success and Personal Finance. The first 25 people, everybody would start at the same time, and the first 25 people to pass those 2 courses would be awarded the spots in the program. Everybody else would be on a wait list in order of completion past that. And then at that point, we would hold kind of events on a kind of every 3 to 4 months basis to provide kind of a networking opportunity for the people involved in the program, provide some community around the program. So that's kind of the very high level of what kind of next steps would look like.
Mm-hmm. So, and also, is the content in multiple languages, or is it only in English?
Yeah. So unfortunately, it is an English college level rigor course. So it is in English.
Okay.
We do have a few courses on our site that are Spanish based, but this is an English proficient requirement.
Yeah, no, but I mean, for example, Coursera, they offer multiple courses, in other languages as well, because obviously they cater to, essentially to the world.
Yeah.
So many times it's useful to have content in different languages.
Yeah, that's something we're still working on. So we've actually transcribed all of our lessons. So we've actually have all of them in text and that kind of thing. But we are working in actually translation right now. So It's something that's on our product roadmap. It is not complete at this point, though.
And is your content unique? Do you guys create
100% created and owned by Study.com. We don't license it to anybody else. We have about 500 subject matter experts throughout the U.S. and the world that helped us create our content. We have a content team of about 45 people based in Mountain View that actually decide, what subjects we're going to go after, what lessons, that kind of thing.
Great.
I did actually speak with a working scholar who came in our office today where English was his second language. And he is a big fan of our lessons for the same reason that my high school students were in San Jose. I taught some ELL classes as well. And I know we haven't really showed you what they look like, but when we say it's a 5-minute video, it is not just a talking head speaking at you. There is a professor who is speaking, but there is animation and stories and pictures kind of illustrating what they're talking about. And SETI.com's whole model is kind of teaching through example and analogies and metaphors so that they're not just telling you the information, but they're actually kind of bringing it to life. So the voice combined with the pictures of actually showing you what they are saying and animation and kind of bringing it to life, along with the transcript that you can read, actually had a lot of my ELL students who weren't the most English proficient really grasp it, and because they were able to, watch the show along with hearing the lecture, and oftentimes they found it a lot more engaging than me speaking at them, which I try not to take offense to, but it was really effective there. At the end of the day, when you're graduating from Thomas Edison State University, it is, full English proficient degree. So we're hoping that our curriculum can kind of help guide the people that are kind of, on the fringes in learning and help them learn through different learning modalities.
Anybody else? Any other questions?
No.
We appreciate as many questions you have, because not only is this a brand new program, it's unlike any program that's been there before. So feel free to email us and ask any further questions.
So what would be the next step for you guys to carry on and try to offer your services to this community?
Yeah, so definitely a letter of support by by your body or of whoever would be a good representative for this particular community, or a couple letters where we could put that together in a package and say, we have a demonstrated need here in North Fair Oaks. We have a program that's ready to roll and we could have up and running in 30 to 60 days, and we would bring that to some of the people that have expressed interest in this particular community, and then see if we could work out a deal in terms of making sure that funding is going to be there. The last thing we want to do is start a program and not have the money to follow through on it. So we want to be very respectful and with an eye towards the long-term viability. So that would be the kind of our ask, if you will, out of this, or kind of what the next steps would be.
Great. Okay, so we have your information, so we'll be in touch.
All right,
with you.
thank you so much for the opportunity to
Thanks
discuss.
very
Really
much for your
appreciate it.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Are there any questions about this issue from the community members? If not, then we will move on to reports to the council. And we have supervisor's report.
Unfortunately, Irving Torres couldn't be here today, so there is no supervisor's report, and Mike Callaghy is not here today. There would be no county manager's report either.
Okay. Sounds good. Council members' reports, if anyone has anything to share.
Yes. The NRT continues to meet every month. That's the neighborhood response team holds meetings in the afternoon at the county center. And what they did at the last meeting was set goals for the rest of the year. And so that was pretty much it. It was good because people, the purpose of the NRT was we re-identified the purpose. And that's to get all of the county departments collaborating with each other and working to solve issues and problems. A couple of issues that were brought up around lighting, street lighting, bike signage, stop signs at high-risk intersections. There's still a lot of safety issues that have come up, so that's going to be added to the list. I think at some point we could get someone who represents the NRT, and I think that would be, oh my gosh, what is her name?
Joan Kling.
Joan Kling?
She's the code compliance manager for the county of San Mateo.
I forgot, what's her last name?
Kling?
Kling, Joan Kling. And she was going to prepare actually a report for council to show council basically what's been done up to this point and what projects they're working on for the next year. So I thought she was going to have that tonight, but so maybe for the next meeting we can present that. It's still, my comment at that meeting was that it's good to see the departments working together because a lot of the issues overlap different departments, say Public Works and Planning, or just they overlap. So rather than duplicate effort, duplicate energy, people are working together. So it's very good, very good. The other thing I wanted to announce was, remember that money that Stanford's going to give us? I forgot the amount. Under the,
I think it was 1 million that was supposed to be divided between
I think it was actually
three
more than
communities.
that, something like 1.2
1.2 or something.
or 1.5 million. That was going to, they gave the authority to the city of Redwood City to work with 3 different neighborhoods, and one's in North Fair Oaks, and the other 2, I believe, are Redwood City. So anyway, they're having their big final meeting August 16th here at Fair Oaks, from, let's see, 6:30 through 8:30 p.m. And at that meeting, they're going to announce how the money's going to be spent and which projects are going to be funded. So that's I think that's a big deal because it's been going on for so long.
Just to clarify, they're not going to discuss how to spend it, but they are going to just announce.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. They've already had all their meetings to talk about it.
All right.
Yeah. And the only other thing was there's a new coalition called Transportation Equity Allied Movement Coalition. And this coalition was formed by the Youth Leadership Institute of San Mateo County, and they also meet on a monthly basis. So if anyone has interest in transit equity, the youth got involved in this because students aren't driving, and so they have a lot of issues about transit, cost, safety, accessibility. So it grew out of the youth leadership. I can give you more information if anyone's interested in that. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Any other council members have anything to share?
Yes.
You do?
I have some people in the community asking me about mental health, so problems.
Mental health?
Yeah, mostly with children or youth. So I took the initiative to investigate, and I talked with Natalie Andrade in the mental health department in San Mateo, and we're gonna bring some. It's not a program. Some classes for parents, so they learn how to deal with their children or youth to if they have some mental problems. So we're gonna bring those classes maybe in September or October.
Good.
Here at North Fair Oaks.
Good.
And so we're looking for a place to have the classes, maybe here or, I don't know, maybe Fair Oaks School.
Is this
I don't
through
know.
the San Mateo Health
San Mateo,
Department?
yes,
Okay.
Health Department.
Could you or they communicate with the Fair Oaks Clinic and see if they have
Yes.
space available?
Yes,
Because
we-
that could be a possibility.
So that's the, we have been talking about it, so the only thing that we need is a place.
Okay.
So I'm going to be working on it.
All right.
I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rosario.
That's a good thing. This is the kind of thing that the schools used to provide. The schools used to have nurses, mental health counselors, so that if there were issues that came up, the parents had some place to go to, the kids had some place to go. So that's one of the things that, with all the new charter schools and with all the change in education, it's missing. So, and I used to work for Mental Health Administration. So, if you need any assistance, I would like to help you with that.
Thank you.
Rosario, you're welcome to come to Fair Oaks. That's a huge need. And Linda, we still provide that. We have 6 community schools in the district, and every community school we had counselor, therapists through HSA, through Star Vista, School Bay. So it's a huge need, and it's definitely there.
I know it's a huge need.
Good.
Question can I ask?
Yeah.
Yeah, when you say children, you know the age of?
Can you bring the mic closer, please?
Mostly it's for youth. Yes, adolescents.
For
yes, like middle
teenager?
school teenagers. Yes.
Okay.
But I think the classes covers kids too. So you have the classes. They can give you you learn how to deal with your kids, or in the community somebody's in need, you can help.
Yes.
So,
Going to be free for the?
free, yes.
It's good. Good.
Any other items to report from any other council members? Okay. So I understand that sadly, Diane Cermeño and Emily Cordova are going out, hopefully into, greener pastures, perhaps busier, but very exciting. So we wanted to wish you very good luck on your next endeavors. And we have some recognition here that we would like to present you. First to Emily Cordova. Thank you very much for your participation. And then Diane Cermeño. Thank you so much. Thank you very much to the two of you for your great service. I think it's been educational for us, and I think I speak for everybody else, but when I say that it is always interesting to hear your opinions and to hear your ideas, because many times, our world as an adult tends to be different from what you guys experience and, your needs, etc. So we always appreciate having a younger voice around. So best wishes on whatever you guys are doing next.
Can you remind us where you're going? What's your next, where you're headed?
So I'm going to CSU Northridge.
And I'm going to Sonoma State University.
Right.
That's great. And what are you guys pursuing?
I'm pursuing nursing.
Nursing? Okay, great.
And I'm pursuing broadcast journalism.
Oh, nice.
Right.
Great.
Wow. Well, I've had the pleasure of working with both of you. Diane, you came on board, 3 years ago?
October 2014.
Yeah. So, and I remember you stood over there. I remember the first night you were here, and I knew you could tell you weren't sure what you were getting into, but thank you for sticking with it and being committed to it, and it's been great having you on the council. And Emily, it's been great working with you, and I wish you the best. I know you two are going to do great wherever you go, and I wish you the best.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, and we hope that that the opportunity you had here to serve the community in the council we hope that it remains, in you as a consideration to come back and continue doing great work here in the community.
And come back and
always
visit.
welcome. Yeah.
Yeah. Living's a little too expensive right now.
Yeah.
All right.
And just wanted to ask, Victor, so do we know anything about the new youth members that may be joining the council?
We're still currently in the process of looking for new youth members. I'll be working with Rafael from the Siena Youth Center to see if they can help me identify anyone, or if our outgoing youth members have any suggestions. I'd be willing to take any. One.
Yeah,
But we might.
you're coming on board, right?
Oh.
You're going to start
Hopefully, yeah. We just need that.
next month or something?
We just need the formal application to go through.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Got it.
So we at least hopefully have one identified.
Okay. Don't
but-
change your mind.
But yeah, I'll be working with Rafael and the Siena Youth Center to help identify another youth member. So we have a regular youth member and an alternate.
All right.
Okay.
That's great.
That's
And you're doing the traditional, not the, what do they call that? Study.com.
I want to get the experience.
Yeah, you're going to have all that social
Yeah.
that experience. Yeah, that's good.
I don't want to be on my phone all day.
Yeah, I already do that, so.
That's great. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting tonight.
I motion to adjourn.
Anyone in second?
I'll second.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.